Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the lunch table. It is me, Ben, and my friend, also my co-host with me. We got Alan. How you doing, Alan?
I'm doing great today, Ben. How are you?
I'm doing good. I want to say thank you for everybody that has clicked on our first video, on our first podcast. I know it's just the audio. I know it might have sounded a little bit weird, but we really appreciate the feedback to what we have said, and also just clicking on the video, hitting that subscribe button, giving that a like, and make sure you hit that notification bell because we want you guys to hear what we got. Right now we're filming on a Wednesday, December 16th, 2020. And we have a pretty big week. We had a pretty big weekend and a pretty good start of the week. We're going to talk about the first game. Well, not the first game, a Monday Night Football game that probably was one of the best games this weekend. We got the Browns versus the Ravens, and the Ravens ultimately coming away with that win against the Browns, which really helped them out because, well, the Ravens have been a little bit struggling lately this season. Alan, what'd you think of the game?
I think the quarterback play on both sides really impressed me. I think we usually think of Baker Mayfield and Lamar Jackson as not particularly clutch players, and both turned it on tonight, which it's got to look great for both teams, and both teams have to be looking happy with their quarterbacks, how they played.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I mean, Baker Mayfield really is starting to look up to the first overall pick that he was cast in 2018?
Yeah,
2018.
I believe it's 18.
And yeah, I mean, props to them, man, for and the Browns are looking kind of dangerous, and they could be a threat in the playoffs, I think. Alan, I guess my question is, if the Browns do make the playoffs, could you see them being the Steelers and possibly the Chiefs?
That's an insanely tough question. It really 100% depends on how Baker Mayfield plays. Because if he has an off game, I think they can still beat the Steelers. I do not think they will beat the Chiefs if Baker has an off game.
I agree with you on the fact of, it could be interesting on also two defenses. Browns defense isn't, I know a lot of people are like the Steelers defense is amazing, which it is, don't get me wrong, but the Browns defense, they got some pieces though. Denzel Ward, Myles Garrett, they've got some weapons in there too that could come up huge in the later run. This is like a quick little break that we're going to go off because we just got this notification while we are filming. The NFL will now show the wild card game on Nickelodeon as well as Fox. This is kind of cool. Alan, what's your reaction off of this?
I think it's just an attempt to get more kids interested in football from a younger age. Some of the people, like families who are maybe not so diehard families, like all sports. I think it's a great move. I don't know if anyone else other than a kid might want to watch it, though. From what I've heard, they're going to do like slime on the field.
Yeah, so they're reportedly are shown that like during like a cool play or something like that, or a really hard throw or whatnot, there's going to be some some effects on there. If there's a touchdown, you'll probably see SpongeBob clip up there dancing or whatnot. It'll be it should be good, and I think this is a big step in getting kids closer to the sport of NFL, and I think that they should do this for all sports because
agreed,
that'll be cool.
All right, so on to the next game. We're going to do the Cardinals versus Giants. I don't have too much to talk about the game. Ben, do you have anything to talk about?
Yeah, I watched the ending of it because after that was the Washington versus San Francisco game, and watching, I mean, Daniel Jones I think he should have sat this one out again. He didn't look healthy. He didn't look like he was ready to play. I mean, it was still a good game. Cardinals ultimately came up with that win, but I think Daniel Jones should have, sat this one, and they should have had Colt McCoy play this game because, like everybody else is saying, if what it's looking like, if the Giants and Washington come together and they play, it's going to be interesting because the Giants hold the tiebreaker because they've beat us twice. They swept us, and they would go to the playoffs, and our Washington players and fans would probably just be sitting at home. Sucks, I guess, but it is what it is.
Yeah, the Giants, I think, really wanted to win this game, but I appreciate the Cardinals for allowing Washington to go sole leader of NFC East. But moving on to another NFC East team, another upset. Eagles over the Saints. What was your impression of the game, Ben?
Jalen Hurts is now their starting quarterback. Just gonna blatantly say it. I think the Carson Wentz era for the Eagles is over, and I think in comes the Jalen Hurts, which, I mean, he played excellent. He used his legs when he needed to use his legs. He used his arm when he needed to use his arm. He made the throws when he needed to make the throws. I mean, what what else could you ask for, I guess, to beat the number one defense, the New Orleans Saints, which is huge.
I don't think it's Wentz season over because his 4-year extension is going into place next season. They have they can't just cut him. Wentz is going to probably be on the team for at least 3 more years, which is probably sad as an Eagles fan to say now. They probably were joyed by it back a year ago, but I think you have to go back with Wentz at starter because there's too much money. You're paying too much money and you can't really get out of that money.
Yeah.
And the Saints defense hadn't allowed, I think, a 100-yard rusher in 50 games or so. And then they both had and the Eagles had Miles Sanders and Jalen Hurts have 100 yards, which is interesting. Yeah. I think that's kind of big breakdown.
Yeah, I guess to add in a question, do you think the Saints should let go of Taysom Hill and maybe start Jameis Winston for a game, or you think they should just keep Taysom Hill and have Drew Brees fully healthy?
See, I think what I've seen from Taysom Hill is he has a pretty big fumbling problem, which is concerning since that's what he's supposed to be good at.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you trust Jameis to not throw picks at the wrong time, and
yeah,
I guess I'd probably start Jameis and I'd start Jameis until Drew Brees could come back.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, but on the Carson Wentz subject, I think worst comes to worst, they do release him. They just eat up the cash. They give him what he deserves. And I've heard, on ESPN, when I've heard rumors that he could go to Indianapolis because that's the offensive.
That'd be really good.
Offense coordinator there was when Carson Wentz was runner-up in MVP before he tore his ACL. I think also part of it might have been because you got to remember Carson Wentz tore his ACL when he's having that really good season. And then they rushed him back and hurt his back. So I wonder if part of it might be he might have a little bit of the yips, or he might be a little, little jumpy or whatnot. So it's should be very interesting. Moving on to our next game, we got Washington versus San Francisco, and it appears Allen has a little dog running up on us. So it is what it is. So I guess I'll knock this out while he is dealing with that. Essentially, Washington's offense is trash. We suck on offensive wise. I mean, Alex Smith did his best. I mean, it kind of sucked when Antonio Gibson was out, and then also Alex Smith was out, which sucked, which is very scary. As Allen's back, yay! He has returned from his journey to quiet his dog, I guess you could say, or close his door, whatever he was doing. Nope. Oh, it's back. Oh well, but basically, I guess the only thing is, both Gibson has his injury, has a little bit of a toe injury. I don't know if it's turf toe or something else, but it's definitely a toe injury that we need him back for sure because our run game did pretty good with J.D. McKissick and Barber, but it obviously was a lot different without him. And Alex Smith's injury, I mean, it is what it is. It's a calf injury, but it is on that leg that he did have 2,000 surgeries on, which is kind of scary. But they're both Ron Rivera and Alex Smith reportedly have both said that they believe that he will be ready for week 1 or the next week. And yeah,
the injury was kind of scary because it was kind of out of nowhere. They're just pulled him out of the game and took him to the locker room. I think going into the second half, we're did something happen? And then he just didn't come back. But Ron Rivera was saying he could have come back in the game if they needed him to, I think is what they were saying.
Mm-hmm.
So that's reason for hope. But I guess you just never like to see your running back, your quarterback get pulled, especially with the severity of the injury he suffered. That was not cool. That was a little stress inducing.
Yeah. That very much was. But our defense, on the other hand, they were amazing.
Studs.
Like, yeah, Chase Young. Our whole defense. Props to them. Chase Young, Curl, Jonathan Allen, Montez Sweat, who I said last podcast, who is a NBA center. I mean, it is just, dude. He look. You see his vertical. You see him jump.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I mean,
They're the entire reason anyone who is a Washington fan has optimism for the future.
And hope. And that they are our only hope.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to switch some gears moving on, and we're going to talk about the baseball side. I know it's been kind of quiet after the World Series. Nothing's really been talking about, but we have some big news. Alan, you mind telling us about it?
So from what I've heard, owners might get the season postponed because they want their players to get vaccinated before playing. What do you think about that, Ben?
It's reasonable. I understand it. They probably don't want what happened earlier in the season when the Marlins had their big outbreak and missed, I think, like 7 to 9 games or something like that, which is huge. It's just, it's safe. I think it's safe. I mean, they said postpone it to May, which you also hear the argument of, look at the NBA. They had their NBA finals and they're back with their finals were in like October. Is that what it was?
2 months off for the people who were in the finals.
Right, and their season starts in 6 days. Well, on the 22nd of December. So it is what it is. I mean, I understand it. I would rather have the players healthy than, sick and missing out games, which would suck. DJ LeMahieu, who is a huge free agent coming up this offseason, is having contract issues with the Yankees, which would be huge because the Yankees and DJ LeMahieu need to get a deal done if the Yankees want to have hope in the coming seasons. DJ LeMahieu wants, I believe, 4 to 5 years, $100 million, and the Yankees want to give him 3 to 4 years, $75 million, which, is kind of up in the air in that aspect, but the Yankees definitely need him because the past 3 years he has been top 5 in the MVP race, which is, this is just in sports in general. If you're almost an MVP, you're pretty damn good. I guess, Alan, you may not know so much of Trevor Bauer, but Trevor Bauer won the Cy Young, which is basically, in the football terms, he was basically the offensive player of the year. He was very good pitching wise. Yeah. So, you may not know as many teams, but right now Trevor Bauer his main 2 decisions reportedly have been the New York Mets and the Los Angeles Angels. That's where mainly people think he'll sign. Alan, do you think he should go out west or you think he should go out east?
Well, I can't say I care or know particularly too much about the teams, but
fair enough.
I would say New York, Los Angeles, but I don't really know much about either team.
That's fair. That's fair. Put it this way: Los Angeles, they have arguably the best player in baseball named Mike Trout. Mike Trout is like, imagine if Tom Brady had the athletic abilities of like Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson.
Oh no.
He's a really good stellar player, but also but hasn't won a championship like Tom Brady. I think he only has like 12 at-bats in the playoffs. Yeah, which is not that good.
I mean, if you can go to someone like that great, I think it's always useful to be around someone that great.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
Even though I don't know too much about baseball, I would always take the chance to go play with someone great.
Right. The Mets' new owner is it's pretty cool. Steve Cohen has done some crazy things. If you'll excuse me real quick.
So from what I've heard is that the Mets' new owner, Steve Cohen, has been on Twitter asking their fans what they like who they want to sign and stuff, which from what I've heard from my co-host Ben was very unlike the previous Mets owner who wouldn't spend much money on their team at all. So that's got to be a huge relief to Mets fans hearing that their new owner actually is going to try to input some of their own feelings. So we move on to the Cleveland Indians are changing their name, but apparently that name change is being moved to 2022. Ben, what's that about?
Yeah, so Cleveland Indians, which I'm sorry if anybody gets offended by that name. Their name is being delayed to 2022 due to, I believe, budget reasons, just money.
Makes sense.
They probably want to buy the rights of a new name first.
Kind of sounds like Washington.
Yeah, except I don't think they want to be called a Cleveland baseball team. I think they would rather have an actual full-on name, which is fair onto that. And also, I guess that kind of leads into our a next thing where, some rumors out there that, owners are complaining about how, they're having money shortages and how, they're not going to be able to pay players as much as they are. Alan, you may not know this, but I'm going to shoot this real quick. So the Philadelphia Phillies, they signed Bryce Harper, who is you know who Bryce Harper is, right? You've heard his name before.
He played for the
Nationals?
Yeah, that's the team. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They basically kind of promised him that, hey, we're going to build this great team around you. We're going to sign these big players. You're going to be like the new Yankees, essentially. And the GM or owner came out and said, we cannot pay their second best player, JT Realmuto, the money that they want because they are, quote unquote, out basically $2 billion.
Oh, wow.
Right. That's what
huge.
Yeah. So that's what reportedly said. Now, the catch is, baseball insiders did some digging. Really, they only lost $147 million. Now, that's still a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. But you want to compare $2 billion and $147 million.
Just a couple cents, right?
Yeah, just a couple cents. That's kind of huge. And, it doesn't really look good on the team nor the players. And if I were Bryce Harper, I'd kind of be questioning, like what's going on here. And the MLBPA, once kind of going back to the delay of game, the MLBPA wants a 162 game season, which obviously if the season's delayed, I could see maybe a 100-game season, which is still reasonable, I think. I mean, sure, you're out 62 games, but it's better than nothing. So I think I think that could possibly be a thing. And for the last thing that we're going to talk about today, which is huge news for baseball, yes, which is huge news, is now the MLB is now seeing the Negro Leagues to Major League status, which is huge because this will involve 3,400 players, stats and records to be part of baseball's official history, which is amazing, and a total of 40 players, managers, and executives who had their whole career in the Negro Leagues will now be elected into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Alan,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
I didn't really know this was a thing, as baseball is, of all of the sports, probably, well, I wouldn't say it's my least interested, but it's the one I don't pay attention to often. Mm-hmm. But I think it's awesome to recognize these people for the game they actually played, no matter what the league they were in.
I agree with you. It's pretty good.
So moving on to the NBA, we have the preseason. I believe preseason has started like 2 days ago. So
like a week ago or something like that.
So. Okay, maybe it was a week ago. But preseason's on, and have you had any initial impressions, Ben?
Yeah, I think KD and Kyrie played for the first time as the Nets, which is pretty exciting, I guess, for Nets fans, and also the NBA, which is kind of cool. Zion has been looking pretty good in his first game, and he was able to actually play, more than 20 plus minutes. They were able to play 30 plus minutes. And, the Ball brothers, all three of them, well, I guess two of them now, because LeAngelo got released from the Pistons. And of course, LeVar Ball had some things to say about how, they don't know what's coming at them. But yeah, that's really the only thing that I really heard about the preseason that much. So yeah.
I've seen lots of highlights from LiAngelo's passing, not too much scoring. He had lots of beautiful passes, like behind the back stuff.
LaMelo, you mean? The one in.
Yes, I do mean LaMelo. The Hornets rookie guard is
LaMelo
who I mean.
Ball. That's what there you go.
Yeah, but I don't think we take too much from the preseason for basketball though. So
yeah. Mm-hmm. But we do have two big stories coming in early. We got Alan.
The James Harden. So he just got a new teammate, John Wall, but is apparently demanding a trade, which I know he's got the leverage in the situation, but I don't know why Houston would be inclined to trade him.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I think it's kind of, if you're Houston, I think Houston has to prove to James Harden that they can win games and that they can be finals contenders.
I mean, but Houston's also thrown like the kitchen sink to help James Harden, and I think if you keep on throwing, he had Westbrook. He had Westbrook on his team, couldn't win. He had somebody before that, Chris Paul, and we know both of these players are insanely good. And if they can't win playing with James Harden, maybe you say, who did they play with? James Harden. And James Harden, when he came back to play last night, looked like he added some weight considerably.
Yeah,
which doesn't help.
True, but I also think you got to put in the aspect of if you want to do teammates they had. I mean, Chris Paul, they made it to the Western Conference Finals against the Warriors. I think they were winning the series until Chris Paul went out with an injury, and then they lost it.
That's
which
true.
I guess you could say, that could be quote unquote on James Harden's fault because he didn't, play as he should have. But he did his thing, and Russell Westbrook. I mean, there have been reports that Russell Westbrook had been, not really enjoying himself out in Houston, which it is what it is, and he's in Washington, which is kind of cool because now you see Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook, who Russell Westbrook is one of my favorite players. So that's kind of cool. But I think the only bad thing is with James Harden, you got to give a lot up to get him. And you're getting a hefty contract. I think he gets like 40 plus $40 plus million for the next 3 years because that new extension they signed.
Yeah, I'm not sure who would trade for him, to be honest. I don't.
Yeah.
He seems like the biggest diva I say this knowing the Nets have Kyrie and KD, but James Harden doesn't. Maybe I'm not just informed enough, but he seems like a lot of hassle and not necessarily the payback for having to deal with him.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's definitely something to look at. But maybe, if he does get traded to the Nets or 76ers that he wants to, maybe it could be a good thing. Or if he's stuck in Houston, well, you signed the contract. It's on you, not really on the team. Team wanted you there. You accepted it. If you didn't really want to be there in the first place, then why'd you accept it?
Yeah.
That's my opinion on it.
We have big news on the reigning MVP. Ben, would you like to go on about that?
Yes. So Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Milwaukee Bucks forward, has just signed the highest contract extension in NBA history. I believe it's $238 million over 5 years, I want to say. But
I think it was 228.
28. So yeah, it's a pretty hefty contract if you ask me, especially for quote unquote small market team for the Bucks. Giannis Antetokounmpo had this to say on his signing extension. This is a big moment for me and my family, and I want to thank the Bucks organization for believing in us. You took a chance on us 8 years ago, and now putting my signature on a contract like this is unreal. But it's all because of hard work. This is my home, and I'm going to continue working hard and do my best to make the Bucks our fans and the city proud. Let's have fun, win, and make these years count. He stayed. He did not pull LeBron, left for Miami, and then.
All right, let's also not say that's the same. Giannis's front office is actually getting him some people decent.
Yeah,
it's hard. Yeah. It's hard not to root for Giannis though. Like everything he does.
That's very true. And I think from what Giannis had to overcome in order to be where he is, I think is very, very amazing. He grew up in Greece. He sold trinkets on the street to survive. His siblings would actually have to take turns wearing the same basketball shoes, and he would actually have to skip practices in order to work, in order to survive, or to live. Then everything moved so fast. Giannis entered into the 2013 draft, and he actually didn't even own a suit until like an hour before the draft. During his rookie season, he was 18 years old, and he sent so much of his money in his contract that he couldn't afford a cab to the arena. So he would end up running there, or fans would just see him on the sign and be like, "Hey, need a ride?" They give him a ride there. And now 6 years later, he's a 2-time MVP and just signed the largest deal in NBA history. So if you ask me, that's a Cinderella story.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody in the NBA who deserves that max more than him. All right, like coming off 2 straight MVP awards, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And a defensive player of the year.
Yeah, I think he's basically, I think he's going to take over from LeBron.
Mm-hmm.
I think, which is unfortunate because I think KD and Curry could have done that, but they kind of just ran into the middle of LeBron's supreme reign as like best player.
Yeah.
In my opinion, at least, I think other people have had Curry above LeBron, which I think is blasphemous, but it's their opinion.
I think also injuries too. LeBron has been luckily healthy throughout his career.
Knock on wood.
Except for Curry and KD, which pretty much sucks. The NCAA Football Show college rankings have come out, and it is also National Signing Day today. Alan, this is all you. This is all. I did my talking. This is all on you, my friend.
All right, so I think it's like, I want to say it's like early signing day because people are talking about how there's going to be more signing, but currently Alabama has the highest rated recruiting class, and then Ohio State's in second and Georgia in second. But ESPN's number 1 ranked Jack Sawyer lands with Ohio State, another defensive end to go to Ohio, which is like, wow, they had Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa, Chase Young. You just think, man, Ohio State gets these monstrous edge players. I can't wait to see what he does with Ohio State, of course, with the pedigree of other top-ranked defensive ends coming out of Ohio State and going to the NFL. And then I think their second-rated recruit was an offensive tackle who committed to Alabama. And I think we also have Corey Foreman, who long ago I think committed to... Oh, no, I think he's still open. I think he's 24/7's number 1 ranked player, not ESPN's. I think he is going between USC or Clemson still, but it looks like it's leaning USC, which would be huge for USC. And then we have the college rankings, which has Alabama 1, Notre Dame 2, Clemson 3, and then Ohio State 4. And I know my co-host here very much disagrees with Ohio State at number 4.
Yes. Hate me for it. Love me for it. I do not think that they deserve to be number 4, nor do I really think that they deserve to be in the playoffs. The only reason why I'm saying this is because they were late into the season. Now, it's not their fault. That's, Big Ten not wanting to play, which is huge. They haven't played that many tough teams. I think this week, or for the Big Ten championship, is going to be their hugest opponent, which is the Northwestern, I believe, which is 14th, and they're 4.
Yeah, Northwestern's getting blown out, so that's fine.
Well, yeah, but my opinion is you have teams like Texas A&M. Florida, yes, they lost to LSU, but they've been stellar throughout this entire year. Plus, I think
losing to LSU, I think, like if you lose to LSU like that, I don't think Florida should be anywhere in the top 10.
It wasn't really even their fault, though. It was Florida's players' fault that decided to pick up a cleat and throw it down the field, which then gave LSU's chance to further move down the field and then hit a field goal to take the lead. Florida could have hit that field goal, but Florida could have hit a field goal as well, but I think at the end of the day, you look at it as if Ohio State hasn't really versed a team that has really pushed them to the limits.
I mean, I could get where you're coming from, but I think Alabama's going to blow away Florida on Saturday. So I don't think it'll even matter because Florida will have like 3 losses by then. And then at that point, I don't think you could argue really anyone should be there over Ohio State.
Right, but okay, let me ask you this. Northwestern pulls out a blowout and they beat Ohio State. Upset of the year. Well, maybe not the upset of the year, but does something like that. Are you still putting Ohio State in there?
No. If that happens, Texas A&M should slot in. Or Cincinnati. I know Cincinnati is 8-0. I know they don't necessarily face the same competition. But if Ohio State loses and they go 5-1 on the season, no, they should not make the top 4.
What about Coastal Carolina? I mean, they beat BYU, that was a pretty big game.
All right, I think this is sort of leading into the next one, but I think Alabama's going to confidently win this, the playoffs. That is my prediction, because I think there was a stat that this is the first time Alabama has played 10 SEC teams, and Mississippi State was the only team that was relatively close to them, and they still dropped like 60 on them. And Alabama's defense is playing much better. So I think it's a lot of work for when I think Alabama's just going to come in and mop the floor. So
yeah, I guess time will tell for the Alabama versus Florida game, but probably the biggest game of this weekend, Notre Dame versus Clemson, who have versed each other before. I want
it's
Notre
the bowl
Dame
game, correct?
Yes, no,
Yeah, bowl game.
It's the ACC championship game.
Okay, that makes sense.
I think it's the ACC championship game. But Alan, last time Notre Dame and Clemson versus each other, they went to 2 overtimes, and Clemson did not have Trevor Lawrence. They had their true freshman out there who threw, I think, like 430 some yards or something like that.
Ugalele.
Yep. And Notre Dame had Ian Brook, who did pretty well, and Notre Dame ended up beating Clemson. Alan, you think it's going to be you think Notre Dame's going to beat Clemson again, or think Clemson's going to come on top?
I think Trevor Lawrence is obviously the best quarterback in college football. I think we can't, like, DJ obviously played a very good game, but I don't think we can underestimate how big of a loss it is to go from having the top quarterback in the country to not.
Yeah.
I don't know if that puts them over the top, because I know Notre Dame has a very good team this year. I probably will lean Clemson, though I'm not afraid to be wrong. And Clemson, if like Notre Dame comes out and blows out, I'm not like emotionally attached to the game. But I would say Clemson has my prediction, but I think it's probably within a touchdown score.
I agree with you. I think also if you look back at that game, Clemson had a couple of fumble and a couple of little like miscommunication errors. Now that just might have been new quarterback, whatnot, but you know, I'm gonna go with a bold prediction. I think Notre Dame's gonna come up this game by 2 points. I think they're gonna win by 2 points.
2 points. That'd be what, a safety or a missed extra point, you're saying?
Yeah, but okay, fine. 3 points if you want to make it technical. If you really want to go
I'm just saying
there.
2 points is like oddly specific.
I know 2 points is oddly specific, but I mean, I think Notre Dame will pull it out because they're going to probably prove it to them, basically saying, hey, we've done this before. We're going to do it again, and they're going to win, and it's going to be amazing, and Clemson's finally not going to win the dang bowl or the championship, and they're going to go into the playoffs, and they're probably going to surprise us all and end up winning it again, the damn championship, and it's going to be, you know, a great 2020 into 2020.
Well, so this isn't the playoffs yet, so I would say for the Notre Dame Clemson, if either team lose, I don't think they deserve to drop out of the top 4.
I agree with you.
Like, that's like saying if Notre Dame were to play Alabama and Alabama's the number 1 team and won, is that really on Notre Dame for losing as the number 2 seed because they're the number 2 and they lost to number 1? I don't think you can drop Notre Dame or Clemson. Like, of course, if Clemson wins, I think Notre Dame should drop to 3, but I don't think any of them deserve to drop out of the top 10 necessarily. I
think also you got to look at maybe how bad they lost. If
that's true.
If the committee was going to go off of that, like if the committee was going to be like, okay, let's say Ohio State does win, they get to stay in, Alabama gets to stay in, Clemson wins, and you see Notre Dame, and let's say Notre Dame loses by like 40, Meanwhile, Texas A&M,
That's not
Florida,
gonna happen
right? But I'm just putting out an example there,
though.
like Texas A&M and or some like that, and they they have a better, I guess, standing, win percentage, point. If they really want to go there, then I guess that could be one way. But again, I agree with you, and I do not see that happening. And that is pretty much all it for our show or podcast today. We appreciate it. This will probably come out it'll come out later this week. And
Hopefully by the end of the day.
yeah, hopefully. We really appreciate you guys tuning in. Hit that subscribe button,
Hit the like button.
please, the notification bell, and also leave a comment. That is our best way of actually, helping us out, which would be nice. And we'll see you guys next week. See ya.
See you guys next week.